And we are in our Stand for Israel weekly meeting this Tuesday, May 12, 2020. And again, we're doing it via Zoom because of the situation right now, but we're not gonna let it stop us. We're gonna meet, we're gonna talk about Israel, we're gonna learn about Israel, we're gonna get updated about Israel. We're gonna do all that over the internet using Zoom. Today, Deb will speak to us about Beersheva, the Well of Oath. And I want to start by thanking our host, Living Word Christian Center. We have our regular local co-sponsors. You also notice that today, Deb actually going to use some of the Kufi video, and we want to be very thankful for that too. We talked about getting to know Zoom. So we are recording, and as we shared, your video image will be shown, so you can mute it. Same thing, video and audio if you don't want to be a part of the recording. We talked about the chat option and the reactions. I also want to thank Dave and Nancy Smith, and of course to my partners, Deb and Joanne, for doing this series with us. I want to start with Israeli elections update. As you know, that's something that took a few elections and a very interesting process. And at the end, what we currently have is a coalition agreement between Bibi Netanyahu and Gantz. And it's moving forward very well. Last week, as I told you, it was actually, there was some petition to the Supreme Court regarding the coalition agreement. Meaning the Supreme Court didn't threw it out and told that it looks good. It did give some points of maybe to do it better, but so far it's moving along. And actually today there was one of the major steps where Gantz, which was the chair of the Knesset after the elections, he actually gave away his seat. That was a part of the coalition agreement. So God willing, next week when we meet, I might tell you that we actually have a government. Right now, everything moving into that direction. And during the Q&A, if you have any questions regarding that during the Q&A, we can talk about that too. I also want to remind you that we have our resources page to go and check it out from time to time. I'm trying to upload there also the links, the videos, and actually Joanne is now doing some other recordings, so we might add also some of Joanne presentations that we didn't do in our meetings. So there will be additional material. And the webpage is the www.matmn.org/SFI. SFI stands for Stand for Israel. As you know, if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, there's a little link hidden there called Resources. You can click on it, and you'll have another page with a lot of great resources and educational material about Israel. Also, you will see there the link to the recordings of previous meetings. So, without any further ado, I'm very happy to tell you that when Deb came back from Israel, this last time she was there, she got to visit Beersheva for the first time. It's a place that has a lot of meaning to it, biblically, historically, modern day biblical time. And Deb said, I want to talk about it. I want to share about it. I'm going to let Deb do the presentation. I'm going to close mine. I'm sorry, getting distracted here because I'm hearing feedback, but I'm going to try and fix it.
Oh, all right. Does that mean there's a chat I should answer? Oh, good. We have someone who's been there. Fabulous. Christensen. Oh, good. Okay, wonderful. What I find is that when you go somewhere and you've never been there and the Lord really just makes a big impartation, there's something there that's really amazing that you want others to hear about. So It seems like it's a place of beginnings. It's a place of sending out. It's a place of meeting God. It's a place of rest, maybe. But the biggest thing is that it has all these wells. And Abraham began. He came from Ur of Chaldees, and he came all the way down to Beersheva. And he dug the first well. So, okay, let's see. Here we go. We were on a bus on the way. We left. I don't know if you can see my little arrow, but we were all over on the Dead Sea. So you come down south a little bit, and then you come up on this road. I think it's 31. And you go through Arad. Arad has the most cleanest air in the entire world. People go there just to breathe. So it's kind of cool. You also are going kind of in between these, they almost look like mountains kind of, but they're massive hills, and you come around and you come right into the town. So over here, we were coming along. We had two photographers from Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, who were with us every day, all day, stayed with us, and recorded massive hours of the whole tour. So wherever we went, they recorded. And it was really cool. So this guy right here is just pointing out on the map where we're headed. You can see the proximity to Jerusalem. And then this is the entrance to the city area where the tell is. And so we moved along. This is a little bit of a journal log, but, thought that might help give you some context. So Abraham left Ur of Chaldees. He had a huge caravan. He was a very wealthy man, probably had a very nice life in Ur, and listened to the Lord and headed down south. And his caravan eventually got to Beersheva. There was a lot of shepherding going on. These are goats on the way that we saw at the bus window, but it was a very frequent sight of seeing herds of goats and sheep and things along as you go down. I don't know if you can see my hand, but I can't help it from moving. It just wants to do this. On the way to Beersheva, and it was kind of cool. Given all of the context and the history, I thought it might be helpful to watch this video. It's about 6 minutes. This is the tell. The picture on the top is the tell, probably from a plane or maybe a drone. And you can see how it's a big mound up. The UNESCO site of Tel Sheva and Megiddo and Hazor are all recognized by UNESCO as ancient historical sites. Israel itself probably has over 100 tells that, you find a mound somewhere, not a bump in the road, but I do know that when they dig there, they have to check out and make sure there's not anything historical under their digging. But pretty much a mound that is not a mountain, it's got rock and whatnot, probably has ancient something under it, ancient civilization. But these three are recognized by UNESCO. I think Eric Steckelbach and Elliot Chodoff do a really nice job in the 6 minutes. There's a longer version I would love for you to watch. And after this class, we're going to send you an email with some links for the longer version and some other really great information, so you can also learn and do your own research before we go to the second session next Tuesday. But Elon, do you want me to pull up the video, or are you?
Do you know how to run a video?
Yeah, I think so. I have to stop share and then go to the link.
You have to stop sharing.
Yeah.
Then you have to have the video ready. Then you have to start sharing again. But when you share, you want to click the option that share your computer sound and also say that you're actually running a video.
Oh, sure. Right.
It will be at the bottom of your, when you pick the one you want to do, it will be there.
It is great to have you back here with us on the Watchman Show.
It's great to be here.
Man, and what an incredible spot to be with you. Tel Beersheva. Beersheba, it reads on the page, but it's pronounced Beersheva here in Israel. A place of incredible biblical significance. Tell us why.
Well, this is where it all begins. This is where Abraham comes from Ur, Mesopotamia, when God comes to him and says, get up, go, leave your homeland, leave your land, leave your father's house, and go to the land where I will show you. And between us, I think if he had told him he was coming here, he might not have come.
And why is that?
I'm joking. But he's leaving the center of urban civilization, where he's lived his entire life.
Ancient Mesopotamia.
Ancient Mesopotamia, but urban ancient Mesopotamia. Remember, he's not living off in the farm country somewhere. He's living in a major city.
And he was prosperous.
And prosperous. And he's not a young man. And he comes out here to the desert, to the middle of nowhere. Remember that when Abraham comes here, there is no Beersheva. Beersheva is named because of what happens while he's here. He's in the open desert, and he becomes a shepherd. He's now grazing. Change of profession.
I mean, a professional guy, prosperous there in a center of urban civilization, and he comes to literally what was then the middle of nowhere, the Negev Desert.
The Negev Desert, we're in the northern Negev, the middle of the northern Negev. The Negev is essentially an inverted triangle, long triangle, so we're in the upper part of it. In the middle of it, we have the Sinai Desert off to our west, the Arabian Desert to the east and to the south. Desert, a lot of desert here. Hebron, maybe 25 miles north of here, which in those days is 2-3 days travel on foot, animal, whatever. I mean, you could probably gallop it on a horse, but if we're talking about moving, it's a distance. And he comes here and he grazes, and here is really where he establishes himself for the first time in the land that will be promised to him.
Wow, the patriarch, Elliot, it all began here with Abraham. I mean, incredible. And you and I were talking off camera a bit about that leap of faith that he took.
Yeah.
He was an older man, as you say.
He was an older man. Again, joking aside, God says, leave it all, give up everything you know, give up all your security, financial, physical, and mental, knowing where you are, and take that leap, go to where I show you. And he brings him here. And you've got to imagine that Abraham comes here with that faith and says, here? Yeah. And it's, yes, here. Here's where it begins.
And this area, Tel Beersheva, is mentioned 33 times in the Bible.
Yes. Later on, this becomes a major city. The promise is the land will be given to you from Dan to Beersheva, Dan all the way far to the north. It's not a border, it's an indicator. But this becomes the southern central city of the Israelite kingdoms, the First Temple period. Solomon built a gate here. It's a fortified city. This was the major city that marked essentially the southern end of influence during that period of David, Solomon and beyond. This was really the last stop. From here, you really are off into the wilderness.
Wow, so this was the extent of the Davidic dynasty and that kingdom. It stretched to Beersheva, the southernmost point.
In terms of rule, yes. Not in terms of influence, but rule. Here, this spot. Of course, the modern city is behind us. This is modern Israel.
Yeah,
things have changed completely.
It's pretty stunning because we have these ancient ruins, thousands of years old from the time of Abraham, Elliot, but not far over in the horizon, a few miles away, is the modern city of Beersheva, which is a thriving city and it's growing.
Yes, the capital of the Negev, home of a university, major hospital, industry. The military is moving a great deal of stuff down here now, out of the center of the country. So
we're not far from the Gaza border either, not too far.
We're not far at all.
Yeah.
Also, a number of miles Beersheva got hit by rockets.
That's right.
So we're in Hamas rocket range.
Yes, we are.
Now, Gaza, of course, is the old land of the Philistines. Some things never change. You've got to realize land ownership out here means something very, very different than what it means in a city. And we know that from here, Abraham moves up to the Hebron area. When Sarah dies, he buys the field of Ephron the Hittite, the cave of Machpelah.
Where he's buried today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Where he, Isaac, Jacob,
Yes.
their wives, that's ownership. He pays for it, and he buys it. Out here, grazing lands aren't really owned in those days. And it's more you graze, and while you're on it, it's yours, and then you move on, and somebody else can move through it. And you don't come back and say, this is my land.
There's not really a title deed in writing to the land.
Exactly.
This is really the Wild West.
That's right. And that's the way, by the way, it was up until very recently among the Bedouin tribes of this area. They didn't own land, they grazed it.
Yeah.
Now they're settling down for all sorts of cultural and political reasons and that sort of thing. But there was no ownership in that sense. It was also true in terms of national level. There was influence rather than border. Now, this becomes the homestead. This is where Isaac comes back to. Jacob comes back to here for a while. But the homestead in the sense of this is the area where he pitched his tent. And he doesn't build a house. He is a nomad within his land.
The patriarch Abraham. Elliot, where we're standing right now, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob lived here.
Yes, here in this area. Yes.
Wow. And this is only the beginning of the story, by the way.
Absolutely.
We're going to hit a well with great biblical significance. We're going to hit the gate of the city, and we'll get more into Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, their presence, their story here, and we'll go further down the line in the Old Testament as well. So, Elliot, let's explore this incredible site, Tel Beersheva.
So what did you think? I love listening to Elliot Chodoff, don't we all? Oh my goodness. The longer version of that video gets deeper into some of the other things. So let me bring up the PowerPoint here again. Okay, we're good, Elon? Okay. Just some interesting facts about the mound is it's 370 meters high, 25 meters higher than the surrounding valleys. When you're standing there, you can see these valleys go kind of around the area. But you're up, like when you get off the bus and you walk, you climb up to that area. It's surrounded by two streams, the Nahal Hebron and Nahal Beersheva, which are actually overflow water feeders that go down into the aquifers that are under the whole Tel. And when Abraham dug the first well, I mean, he's a man of faith. He left everything, brought all of his caravan with him, and became a nomad. So he must have had some inkling as to where to dig a well. I just find all this kind of fascinating on the side. But there is an ancient aquifer underneath. It's huge. As you probably heard on the video, the whole comment of Dan to Beersheva, the north to the south kind of points. This wadi, or this water flow, provides year-round supply to the aquifer underneath. And you can kind of see, this is a picture right here of see the blue lines there that kind of go around? And that feeds underneath this whole Tel. So anyway, there's the scriptures for Dan to Beersheva. If you're interested in reading those are nice. So when you enter the park, it kind of gives you a little bit of a snapshot of what the Tel is all about. And as I mentioned before, there's 3 biblical Tels that have ancient historical what would you call it? I guess acceptance by UNESCO. I'm not a big UNESCO fan, but for different political reasons, but they have deemed it that. And I think it's kind of interesting that they chose this one as well as the other two, but it goes all the way back to the days of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, times of the prophet Amos. Elijah stayed there when Jezebel said she was going to kill him, so he ran to Beersheba. King Hezekiah and the conquering Sennacherib of Assyria, and so many more ties to this. It's just, it's the coming and the going, the prophetic element of it. It was just fascinating for me. You probably remember the tamarisk tree in Genesis 21:33. As you're entering in, there's this massive tamarisk tree. I'm not saying this is the one Abraham planted, but it is profound to look at something that it's really huge. I couldn't get the whole tree into the picture, so I had to, you know, split it up a little bit. But it's a beautiful tree. I can only imagine what it was like to plant those kind of trees in what was a wilderness. Yes, there was water flow there, but maybe there hadn't been that kind of planting going on. So that's another fascinating point to me. So when you come up the road, you come to a place that is called the gate. The gate was constructed with 2 rooms on either side. Think of all the scriptures that reference the gate, you know, the husband at the gate, or the people at the gate, or maybe that's how the enemy is trying to get in, is through the gate. But I think it's really fascinating that this gate is still here. And of course, you know, with all the great historical sites in Israel, they have these wonderful signs that are right at the area where you need to learn about those specific pieces. You can see here the various layers of civilization, the different ages, which is a little bit more what we'll kind of look at. So now we've come up the hill. This is the gate here that we looked at from the flip side. And this is the well here. What Elliot was talking about is this is the traditional well of Abraham. There is one in town at Beersheva that they also say could be Abraham's well. You know how it is in Israel? There's things that are like 100%, things that are like 80%, maybe 50%. So all I know is that the word traditional was used for this. There were 7 wells that were dug at Beersheva. And if you remember, Isaac and Jacob were also there. So there was well management, let's put it that way. And some other interesting things. But we spent a little bit of time here hearing more about the wells. In Genesis 20, I don't know if you remember Abraham passing his wife off as his sister. There was a few. I don't know if that was typical in that day or if it just happened to be Abraham and Sarah. But what's interesting is King Abimelech, who was over the Philistines, had no idea, but God spoke to him after he had brought Sarah to his harem. And God spoke to him in a dream and said, you're going to be a dead man. I mean, point blank, if you do anything with her, because she belongs to another man. I'm sure somehow he knew, because they were connected, you know, Abraham and Sarah, so I'm sure he assumed. But anyway, so he feared God. He was not a believer of God. The Philistines were not followers of the great I am. And so he had enough fear of God in him from the dream, which I'm sure he didn't get dreams and visions, but brought him back out to Abraham, and it got cleared up. rather quickly. He also had some other things, Abimelech, and Abraham prayed for him, which I thought was an interesting intervention, spiritual intervention at that time, given the site and all the various things that go on at that site. So Abraham digs the first well in Genesis 21:14, and Beersheva, meaning well of seven or well of promise or the well of the oath, or, you know, there's a variety of connections there. The reason why it's called the oath is because there was a disagreement over the well water between Abraham and Abimelech. In the next verse, Abimelech and Phicol, I think that's his name, the commander of the army, went back to the land of the Philistines. They were really, the commander wanted to take the wells, but realizing that there could be a negotiation made and some agreement, and besides the fact that Abraham had dug the well himself, they entered into an oath, and that is that agreement. So the well of the oath is why it's called Tel Sheva. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree at Beersheba and prayed to the Lord, the God who lives forever, our eternal God. So it's just fascinating. I'm sure there were countless other amazing stories tied to that, but I just think, wow, for a man who left everything and came down here, and every step he took was an encounter of some sort at that old age. So Beer means well, and Sheva means oath. There's another Hebrew word, Shavua. Sheva can also mean seven, but in this case, that's how the oath. So when you're coming up the hill, probably remember this little overhang. Okay, so this area right here overlooks the actual well, and then the shepherds or whoever was getting water for the flocks had to take off a massive stone over this well, bring up the water, put it into this trough so the animals could, like the sheep or goats or whatever they had. And then when they were done, they would put this massive stone over it. Fascinating. Do you know how deep the well is? I know nobody's answering, but 229 feet. Thought that was interesting. That's a deep well. So you can kind of see here, this is a scripture. I know it's kind of light, but it's hard, you know, when you're taking a picture and then you have to convert it. It's the Song of Songs 4:15, and it talks about a fountain of gardens, a well of living waters. It's about Abimelech came to him from Gerar. The well was dug deep, 70 meters. So this is a picture I took. I thought I was going to see the bottom for some reason, but if it's that deep, you don't see the bottom. But looks like people put rocks in there like you do if you're visiting a grave and you put rocks on it. It was almost like they were putting rocks. Maybe they were just trying to see if they could hear it hit the bottom. I don't know, but that was as close as I could get, as deep as I could go. But you can see how all of this isn't a recent well. This is an ancient well. It's just cool to look down in there. So, as I said, the actual well of Abraham is not 100% for sure, even though, you know, Elliot said that it was the traditional well. This is the well in town. They have kind of a museum of sorts. And they say, well, this is the well that Abraham's well. So Joanne sent me a picture of Jody went to Israel and worked on a kibbutz, and this is the well, apparently back in the day. So maybe they've, done a little bit more, maybe restoration and some creativity around the site. But anyway, I thought I'd share that. So here's the gate, back at the gate, because we're still at the gate with the well. It had 2 rooms on either side. There were benches. Yep, meeting places. Kind of cool when you think of it in reality versus in just ruins. But so as you enter in, all of these places were either storerooms or places where people lived. People had, and as you can see all the various levels of the different ages. The lower you go, the older, of course. Fascinating rocks there. I found a shell there. There's not, it's not like there's lakes or anything, but I had an actual shell that I found. Now, obviously, there's water coming down from the north, and so maybe it traveled that way. But this is a pathway that enters in through the kind of from the gates. So the lower, I guess you would call them mud bricks. They're made out of mud. Those are the oldest. So the entire site is probably 4,000 years old. And the oldest is the mud bricks. So that would be back at that point in time. I don't know if any of you have gone to Israel with Guy, but Guy was our tour guide, and he's just pointing out the mud bricks, which is pretty cool. This picture is of an area where there was a room. Could have been a storage room, could have been anything, but you can see the mix of the various types of wall based on the age of whatever era it was, because every time it was either ruined or maybe there was a war or whatever, there was things that occurred that changed the face. And so maybe they built on top of it and left some things, and you know how it is in a town, changes. Beersheva got in, well, it's at the tell, we're still in the tell. Got into trouble because of the worship of idols, and that was part of the falling away, especially under King Josiah. King Hezekiah was part of the dismantling of the cults and the idolatry and the return to Jehovah. And that's all in 1 Kings. There's several books in the Bible that have snippets of, various aspects of Beersheva. As you heard that, it's mentioned 33 times in the Bible. And it's interesting that it's not only tied to the leaders, there's the leaders, the kings, the prophets, and some bad actors as well. So the four-horned altar was part of the idolatry, and they found one that was dismantled, which is what Hezekiah was all about. But the one they have there is just an example. So it's kind of interesting to see. And remember, Hezekiah had to face the Assyrians at some point. That was a huge, huge deal. So this is the what the altar would look like. This is not a godly altar. This is an idolatry altar. So I did a panorama. So it's kind of like goes around. You have to kind of imagine. So ancient Beersheva, the 8th century BCE, the population was about 400 to 500, and that included the army of Judah. And in 701 BCE, it was destroyed by Sennacherib. There was a lot of fire involved with that as well. There was a small population that lived there until all came to an end when the Babylonians conquered the kingdom of Judah in 587 BCE. And so the layer of mud bricks and various stones can be seen, in the layers throughout the site. So it really is cool if you love ancient and you love archaeology and you consider this is really a crucial foundation for all of what God did, you know, in bringing Abraham and all of the, think of Isaac and Jacob and all of the tribes and everything that, you know, filter down. It's amazing. I did see in some of the research I was doing that King Hezekiah is in the bloodline to Jesus. So if you follow down through the overall thing. So just kind of wrapping up, maybe I went too fast. Am I good on time, Elon? Okay, good. So
Deb, you're good on time.
Oh, good. So to me, Beersheva was a beginning of many divine journeys, and it was also a place of sendings. Abraham left his comforts of Ur and came to the wilderness. God brought him to a source of great waters. We always associate water with the word, you know, just that whole, like, what was God speaking to him? But even so, how do we reflect on that as an individual? He dug the wells and needed to guard them, apparently. So did Isaac, Jacob. In these times, you know, we think of where God has us right now. It's kind of an interesting time in our lives, just with all the global pandemic, whatever's going on, but not to fear the unknown path that he's taking us on. So I'm just looking at the big picture of looking at the ancient, looking at the biblical, and saying, what is God saying to us as well? And he's promised he will go with us, just as he has promised he's gone with Abraham. So I just wanted to say all that to reflect on everything. Now, I'm going to ask, should we do a Q&A at this point? Because the last 3 slides are kind of a kickoff for next week. I love this little thing goes on. If there's questions, ooh, there's chatters.
Yeah. Do you want me to open the chat, Deb, to see what's in there already? Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Hold on, maybe I have to open it a little bit more. Dory wrote, Deb, you did an amazing job. Thank you so much. What an amazing experience for you.
Oh, thanks.
Paul gave his email address and wrote, great presentation. And Dave and Nancy Smith wrote, this is beautiful, Deb. And Dory wrote, awesome. So these are mainly reactions, not questions so far.
Okay.
So do you wanna take some Q&A now, maybe?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, so you can actually close your presentation.
Okay, I just have 3 more slides left.
Yeah.
That's for next week.
So if anyone actually have a question, you can type it, or you can just unmute yourself and ask.
I have a question.
Gwen
Yes,
has a question.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I'm curious. So, Deb, you said when you first arrived there, you walk up this mount. So when Abraham got there, basically it was already like a hill. So he just built the city on a hill, or it's because of so many civilizations being built on top of each other.
Right. I think it was more of a plain than a tell, like an exist. It's like they created the tell by having civilizations built on it, whereas when Abraham went there, it would have been more lower. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Jolene. Do you have any idea how they actually build or dug those wells without it caving in on itself?
That's a good question. I'm going to check out exactly how they built wells. Because, you know, there is stairs there. We didn't do the stairs. They go down like 60 feet. I don't know if you've been in Jerusalem where you go down in the city of David and you're way down under. This is almost like it was, like you had to go around and then down and then around again and then way down, you were down into the aquifer.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if they built that, they might have had a different, you know, way that they did that. But I'm going to research that because that's a very good question. Yeah. Anybody else know? I mean, okay, I'll look that up.
Abraham wasn't an architect?
Yeah, he might have been. He lived in the urban city.
Deb, I think I missed this. What year did you go on this tour?
We went, this was February 23rd. Of this
Last year?
No,
Oh,
of
this year. Oh, wow.
23rd.
And
Maybe.
what tour
Like
was
3
it?
months ago.
Oh my gosh. And was it Billy Brim's tour or was
With
it?
Billy Brim.
It
Yeah,
was Billy's tour.
yeah,
Okay.
we had 2 buses.
Ah, wow. So it was her teaching tour then.
It
It
was,
was her biblical. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You're so
Yeah.
blessed.
It was amazing.
Ah,
It's like Beersheva was one of those places, like when you go back, I have to go back there, you know. Not that all the other places aren't great to visit more than once, but there's a couple places like Shiloh. Don't want to miss Shiloh. Don't want to miss Hebron. You know, those kind of places. So Beersheva's on my top 5 list now.
oh, what a blessing. Ah.
Yeah. It's only half the story.
Oh, I
This is
know.
just
Where's
half
the rest of the story? When are we going to get the rest of the story?
Next Tuesday.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I didn't mention that in the beginning. Deb will be doing today and next week. So actually next week also going to be on Beersheva.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Part 1.
Wonderful.
Next week will be part 2.
Yeah.
I have to share that for me, it's a little bit weird the way you write the name in English, because in Hebrew, we're actually writing it 2 different words. Beer, Sheva, you know, because it's to think about, like, if someone will take the name New York, and instead of writing it in 2 different words, they're just going to make it 1 word, you know, and that's how they'll use it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see the word, take me a moment to realize, oh, it's Beersheva, especially when in English they're saying Beersheba, you know, they're like making it a B instead of a Va.
So can you type for us how you say it in Hebrew then?
He just muted. You're muted.
Oh. He's muted, but I want to see his response to see how you say it in Hebrew. That'd be wonderful.
That'd be good, Elon. You're muted.
Okay.
Here he comes. Gary's going to write it.
So, Deb, did you find there were 7 wells? Did you find the other 6 too? Or do we have
No.
are the other 6 still there?
From, you know, walking around, I didn't see any other wells, but we were only there for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. And so we had lunch and we walked around, we had some teaching. So the big well was when you first walked in.
Oh,
There might
okay.
have been a few other wells. And it's hard to say because they also have those stairs that go down that I didn't see, but I found on researching where they can go down to the aquifer. It's kind of like when you're at the city of David and you go way down and kind of enter into those areas where the water's flowing. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so there were 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
God's perfect work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, I love that. Look at that. Beersheva. That's
Did you get it on your screens? Do you see the here? I wrote it both in Hebrew and how
Yes.
it will be written, kind of
I
translated.
like it. Yeah.
And
Does that
Elon?
make sense? Yes.
Explain to them about the Hebrew. The bear is on the right and the Sheva
Yes.
is on the left.
Yes.
Right?
This is the
Yes.
actually the way. This is the. Oops. Hold on. So this is the Be'er. You see here?
Yeah.
So that's the Be'er, you know, and the Sheva, because we write from right to left. So actually the word on the right is Be'er, while the word on the left is Sheva. In English, of course, it's the other way around. That makes sense?
I see. You're reading it. So we are reading it from the left to the right. You're reading it from the right to the left.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna do draw here. So this word is Be'er.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and we read it this way. Okay. And this is so this is Be'er. And this is Sheva. That makes sense? Good. Okay, I'm gonna close that screen here.
Nice.
And yeah, one other thing I want you to know, that officer training in Israel happening in a base in the south, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So many times the big city nearby, there was a smaller town nearby, but the big city nearby, or when we used to get there, to drive from the north and central Israel toward the base in the south, we sometimes used to go via Beersheva. So I spent a lot of time there catching buses or hitchhiking. You know, we used to do it a lot in Israel as soldiers, to hitchhike back home. And one of the things that you learn very quickly, there is an unbelievable falafels in Beersheva.
Woo.
It's kind of a place where many people kind of stop on the way. They want to get like a quick bite to eat. So they have some great falafel there too. And,
Good to know.
and of course,
Good to know.
a lot of Bedouins live in the area.
Yeah.
Still, but more and more in things that look like a permanent dwellings, and then not in just tents like they used to. Even so, during my officer training, when I used to do night navigation, sometimes I'll mistakenly run into a Bedouin compound because it's actually not on a map. And believe me, it's not a nice thing to navigate by yourself. And the next thing you know, you have 12 very angry dogs chasing you in the middle of the night. You have to learn how to deal with it. So
Wow.
actually, it's very dangerous. It sounds funny, but it's dangerous.
I was in Israel in 2000, and what I learned about falafels and heroes, that we call them, is that they serve French fries on top of them. Is that
Yes.
still true?
Yeah. Yeah. You put. That's why when I moved here, and I was at somebody's home, make a burger, and I piled my burger. I put the beef on the bun, and then I piled it with French fries on the top of it, and then I had a sandwich. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "That's how we eat it in Israel. In every sandwich, you eat hummus and a pita, you put French fries inside. You know, you eat falafel, put French fries inside. You eat shawarma, many times you put French fries inside. So it's kind of makes me hungry."
Oh, wow. Too bad we don't have little snacks to hand out.
Yeah. Remind me, Deb, I have 6 months sitting here. I have this instant coffee from Israel I brought for you in December.
Oh my gosh.
I'll give it to you. But anyway.
It's the best coffee.
Yeah.
It's the best. Wow. So yeah,
More questions about Beersheva?
questions? I just have a couple slides. We're all going to go there someday, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment if I could.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, Dave and I were with Joanne last year ago already, and we went to Shiloh, and you were talking about Beersheva and Beersheva. Well, we found out it's true with Shiloh and Shiloh. Which
Shiloh.
one is?
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Shiloh.
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 Yeah, yeah. Well, what's so fascinating and wonderful about this is like your experience, Deb, with Beersheva. My experience with Shiloh is this: they actually uncovered the first tent of meeting, and when we were there back in '96, it was just this kind of like this desert with trees and rocks. So we'd gather up remnants of the broken pottery and stuff. And now you have, and the whole
Now
city
you
is
can.
covered. to see Beersheva and what it does to you, right, Deb?
Yes.
To think that Abraham was there, to think that Hannah was there praying, you know, for that child, and Samuel's conceived, and it's just, you have to go to Israel. I just had to make that comment.
Yeah, totally. You're right on. You're right on. It does it. It just does it. When you get there, it so comes alive. It overwhelms you sometimes in a good way. Yeah. So it was good. So where are we at now? Do you want me to show you the next 3 slides, or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Because I know, by the way, I have to promise you next week will be not less interesting than today.
That's right.
Because I know what she's going to talk about, and this is amazing. But go ahead, Deb.
Okay. All right. So I think it takes a minute for this to sync. Okay. So this is what we're going to talk about next week. I didn't want to get too deep in there because it's kind of a surprise, sort of. But it has to do with horses. And lots of horses. Lots and lots and lots. Okay, that's the surprise.
Wait, Deb.
What?
But you have something in the quiz about it.
I do. Okay, all right. Okay, so
go back to the horses then. Just horses.
Okay.
No, the previous one. Then another one. The where you see all the horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tell them who are these in Beersheva, and then you'll deal with it next week. But
Okay.
who are these people?
I love secrets.
Must be Jewish.
I guess I'll tell what these are. So these are the Australian light horsemen, and there were thousands, and they came to this is me, okay? I think this was a prophetic unction on these people to get in a boat with thousands of horses that were their personal horse and come to Israel in 1917. I mean, really, think of the numbers of people, okay? They all had to have the same call on their life to come to Israel in 1917 and tackle the Ottoman Turks, who nobody could beat. And the date that they tackled the Ottoman Turks was October 31st, 1917.
When?
Huh?
When was it?
October 31st, 1917. And to the day, 400 years. I mean, really, have you heard 400 years before? Remember when all the Jews were in Babylonia? That was a 400-year thing. So this isn't just a coincidence, like some people got together and had a political, thought, like, well, let's go take on the Ottoman Turks. No, this was huge, absolutely huge.
But wait, did they call them Australian at the time?
No, they called them Anzacs.
Oh, okay.
Anzac. Mm-hmm. So this was the 100-year anniversary. I think it was a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. 2017.
Yep.
That's because it was Anzacs because it was Australia and New Zealand together.
There you go.
That's why they're. I only know that because my son's in Australia.
Oh no, it's fabulous.
And I've been there.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you've been there. Wow, what an honor. I mean, really.
That's what Anzacs means, and it's like our 4th of July when they celebrate the Anzacs. But yeah, that's because
Phenomenal.
they came not only from Australia, they came from New Zealand over to Australia to go there. And that's like a 4-hour ship. I mean, no, it's a 2-day ship from New Zealand to Australia.
Wow. Wow.
It was both that Australia and New Zealand. That's why they call it Anzacs. Yeah.
Wow. That is cool, Dory. Thank you for sharing that. No, I love it. I love it. Awesome. It's probably what, when you think about, the Tel and Beersheva, and you put all this together, because they had to tackle the Tel first.
Yeah.
Then they had to tackle Beersheva. They liberated it. It was incredible. So next week, we're going to talk more about this. This is, it's just, I could spend days talking about this. It's just amazing.
So what is Tel again, Deb?
Tel?
Yeah.
Okay, Tel.
Because there's another big city in Israel now.
Tel Aviv.
Tel.
But not the same. That's not the same. Tel.
Yeah.
So Tel Aviv is not the Tel type. A Tel has to be a mound. It has to be a mound. Basically multiple civilizations, but a mound. Yeah. So what else you got there going there, Elon? Any other cool questions?
No. Said UNESCO. So you said UNESCO recognized how many Tels in Israel?
3.
Which ones?
They recognized Tel, Beersheva, the Sheva, Megiddo, and Hazor.
Hatzor. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I said, even Tel Aviv, there's a lot of other Tels in Israel. Even so, UNESCO just recognized 3.
Yep, exactly.
We have a lot of Tels in Israel.
A lot. Like hundreds.
Exactly.
I mean, you could probably say a bump in the road, but not really. Hundreds. They have to be a mound. Too funny. Wow, I'm excited for next week. I mean, really, I'm really excited for next week. So.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories, the one that you're going to share next week. Meaning, not that the biblical story of Beersheva is not important. It is very important.
Yeah.
But the modern day miracles that happen, they are just amazing. And many people don't know about it. That's a shame.
Yeah, well.
Out of the way. That's why many tourist spots not getting there. It's kind of a long drive from the, people are staying in this triangle, like they land in the Tel Aviv area, they go to Tiberias, then go to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Kind of do things kind of in that area. And Beersheva is out of the way. You really have to drive south. You probably were in the bus for a long time, no, to get there?
Well, we were in the Dead Sea for a couple days.
Yeah.
And it was very easy to go across over to Beersheva, and I'm glad we did. It is in rocket range of Hamas.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, you need to go to Beersheva. There's an important thing, especially as a praying person, to get your feet on the ground there and really put a stake in the ground, because that's what Abraham did. He put a stake in the ground, dug a well. So from a prayer perspective, we need to go to Beersheva and begin, that praying hedge around that whole area, because Gaza's just a skip over, a few miles maybe, but long enough for a rocket for sure. So, Yeah. This is huge. This to me, the Anzac, that whole thing is so prophetic. If I get going on it, I'll be all over it for the next hour. So I better wait till next week.
Yeah, wait for next week. You're ready to do the quiz?
Yeah.
Do you want to lead it or do you want me to lead it?
Oh, I love you. I love you to read
Okay,
it.
so I'm gonna show it on the screen. You want to
Okay.
add something in the middle, you can leave your microphone on. I'm gonna switch to, so here's what I want everybody to do. I'm gonna give you a website. But for all the ones that didn't do it yet, don't go on the computer that you're watching us right now, that you have Zoom. Because on that screen, you will see a question. I mean, the question will have 4 answers on the screen. So you need to see that. To choose your answer when you're going to be logged in, you need to use like a second device. I'll be using a phone. Okay, so if you have a second phone, use a phone. You can just use a second computer if you have another computer near you. Or if you're on your phone watching us, you can use the computer. So the bottom line, you need a second device that have an internet access, okay? Now I'm gonna give you a website to go to, and you'll get to a screen that will say, enter a PIN code or a game PIN. You don't know the game PIN yet, I will show it to you, okay? But because first I want everybody to be on that screen where it's asked you for the game PIN. After I will show you the game PIN, you'll enter it and it will give you another screen. It will ask you for your name. If you don't want to put your real name, you can put a nickname. The reason I'm saying that, because that name will be shown on the screen that shows everybody, because it's going to show the actual score when we do that, okay? Sounds complicated, but it's very simple. All you have to start right now is start with a second device that have an internet access, not the one you're watching right now. And I'm actually going to do a whiteboard here. I'm going to clear it here. And here's the website that I want you to go to. Notice that it's kahoot.it. Okay, do you all see it on the screen? It's not kahoot.com. So take any other secondary device that you have where you have an internet browser and where you enter the address, just go to kahoot.it. If you're on a computer, you will get a screen saying put a game ID, a PIN. If you're on your phone like I am, you're going to get a screen like that saying put your game PIN. Okay? Is everybody there? If you're not there yet, just write down that address, because now I'm going to use the screen to generate for us, because the way that game works, every time it generates a new PIN. I'm not sharing it with you right just yet, I know that. Okay. Stop the music so I can go back and share the screen with you. And it's going to be on the right, but I'm going to hide this floating thing. So the PIN is, you can see it on the screen, but just in case you don't, 9605516. 9605516. And after you enter it, it will ask you for your nickname. I see we already have a few players in. I'm going to put some music in the background. Do we have more players? Want to come in? I'm going to do one thing here, by the way. Don't worry, I'll be right back, okay? That screen is not going to go away. What I'm going to do here, share the computer sound. How do you hear the music better? All right. I is floating. And we will be starting. And it's going to show the question. What will happen is going to show the question on the screen that you're watching right now. Then it's going to give you 4 potential answers, different colors. On your phone or your other device, you have to choose the color that represents the answer that you think is right. Here we go. Choose one, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we have 7 people that answered, and 5 of us got it right. Let's see what the standing is. By the way, the question was, what is a tel, the Hebrew word? What does it mean? And it means a mound. It's a tricky question because I know some others sounds like really familiar. And if you're asking who answered bumping the road, that was me. Because I'm going to pick most of the answers wrong. Okay, because I just know the answer, so it's not fair. Let's see the standing. Calculating the standing, and here we are, and you're asking, how come? We have 5 people here with right answer. How come they have different scores? And for the ones that are playing it for the first time, the one who answer it the faster get more points. Now, in the next question, then you want to answer really quickly. I'm saying answer really when you're sure that that's what you want to answer. It's better get some points instead of getting 0 points. Okay, let's go to the next question. All right, so the question was, UNESCO's 3 biblical tales are, and the right answer is Megiddo, Chatzor. If you remember, I asked Deb and I said in Hebrew we pronounce it Chatzor, and Beersheva. 5 of you got it right, a couple of us didn't. Let's see the standing round. Ooh, there were some changes there. Cats is actually going up, good. Let's go to the next question. question was, how many tails are in Israel? And the right answer is hundreds. It was a tricky question because 3 are recognized by UNESCO. So it's kind of a tricky question. I can see why it's confusing, but hundreds is the right answer for that question. And let's stand. There's a little movement. Everything is still open. It's a very tight race here. Hey, remember, I saw that only 6 or 7 answer. I know more people logged in. Even if you missed the first couple, please continue to answer the questions. Let's go to the next one. All right, so the question was Beersheva, what does it mean? What it means is the well, that's the Be'er, of the oath, Sheva. I know it's a little bit confusing for the one that got it with the place of 7 wells. You're right, because actually you write Hebrew, in Hebrew, Sheva also means 7, but it really means the well of oath. It's kind of a play with the word. So I can also say that that was a good answer as well, the yellow one. But in this case, Deb decided to give full points for whoever picked the blue one. Let's see the standing. All right, still very tight there. Very tight competition. Let's continue to the next question. So the question was, how old is Tel Sheva? The right answer is 4,000 years, and all of you got it right. Let's see how the standing is. Oh, a little bit change here just because someone answered faster than the other. Let's go to the next question. So the question is, how many times is Beersheva mentioned in the Bible? Most of us got it right. The right answer is 33 times. And let's go to the next question. Oh, wait, the standing. Look, still very tight here. Some other people, yeah, we have more people playing, but it's just showing right now the top 5. Let's go to the next question. Whoa, look at that. Question what is aquathermy is. And it's kind of, I know because of the topic, it's You might think it's a well water because we're talking about Beersheva, but actually it's underground water collection. That's what it is. And only 3 of us got it right. I wonder how the standing will look like. Let's look at the standing. Oh, wasn't a lot of change, but become more tight. We have more and more people competing for that first place because one wrong answer or too slow can do a lot of changes here. Let's see, let's go to the next one. Whoa, that was good. Abraham and Avimelech made an oath because the right answer is disagreement about Abraham's well. 6 of us got it right. Let's see the standing. Ooh, more changes. I'd like to see how things are. People are swapping space, kind of places right there. Let's go to the next one. Whoa! Wow! That was a tough one. Held by the Ottoman Empire, 400 to the date. Which date? October 31st. We had actually a Deb repeat that during her presentation, which she did. Now we'll remember it. Let's see the standing. No change. Let's go to the next question. Well, I'm sure Dory got this answer right. Question was, what group of horsemen liberated Beersheva? That was in 1917. And the answer is the Anzacs, the New Zealanders and the Australians, in that wonderful story that we're going to hear about next week. Let's see the final standing and a special podium presentation here. It's kind of fun, isn't it? I like the music also. How the music kind of, I'm gonna.
It's so fun.
Well, I want you all to know that I very much appreciate, when Joanne and Deb are working so hard to prepare these questions every time so we can enjoy the quiz. Dory, I hope you got, well, you probably got that answer right now. Wasn't you, then who? Yeah, right, you're muted if you want to talk. So before we wrap up, I'm going to give last opportunity for anyone to ask a question, give their opinion, thank Deb, whatever you need to do, either speak or write. before we wrap up with a prayer.
I just want to say we enjoyed it tremendously tonight. So Deb, you did good job.
Oh,
That's
thanks.
wonderful. Wonderful.
Thanks, guys. It was
Thanks,
fun.
Deb. We were at Beersheva in 2011, so it was good to see those pictures again.
Oh, wow. That is great. I love it.
It's always fun to listen to you and Joanne, Deb. It's a great time. Thank you so much for all your work time you took to put this together for us. You're a blessing, dear.
Oh, so are you all. Thanks. Thanks.
Good. Deb, do you want to close this here?
Yeah, I can do that. So, Father, we just thank you for all of these dear hearts that came to class tonight. We just thank you to remember also all of those that are in our group and weren't able to come, and just touch all of them with your anointing. Just speak into their lives individually on what you have planned for them. In spite of what's going on in the globe, it doesn't matter what day it is, what hour it is, but what you are doing specifically in their lives right now, and the gifts and the talents that you're putting in them. And I just want to thank you for all that you've done to reveal to us what your word says about these ancient, beautiful, historic stories, and what you will be sharing with us next week. And Father, I just want to lift up the family of the IDF soldier that was killed today in that horrific incident. And I just pray for their comfort, that you would just surround them, their community, and his IDF, anyone who is associated with him in the IDF. Lord, I just pray that you will give them comfort and strength from Zion. That it just is so beyond us to imagine what an incident like that impacts a family. And I just pray, Lord, that you would just comfort them and bring them the only kind of comfort that you can in a situation like that. So I just pray all that, as well as anyone in this group that needs healing, Lord, that you would just touch them. Anyone in their families, Lord, that you would just give them a healing touch as well. I just ask this in the name above all names. Amen.
Thank you, Deb.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up now. I'm actually going to close it, hoping the recording went well, because Joanne told me she really wanted to see it.
Okay.
And she had to be in another meeting, by the way. She's literally in a parallel meeting.
Yeah.
Something that have to do with the teaching of anti-Semitism, etc. So she's looking forward to watching it and be with us next. Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you next week. And if you like it this week, again, tell others that they can join us. They can join us from their home.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, everyone.
The
God
computer.
bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Deb.
Bye,
Bye.
Deb. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So good to see you all.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Deb.